Well, what it meant, of course, ultimately, was not just that he was going to be a victorious figure, but that he was going to be a suffering figure. But in the context of Judaism, there was no category of suffering Messiah, at least to the best of the evidence that we have now.
As a result of the information in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we know that some of the things Jesus said were a clear-cut indication to people in his day that he was claiming to be the Messiah.
What do you say to those scholars that say that the early disciples just invented the concept of Jesus being the Messiah?
I think that that is laughable in the face of Jewish literature from the Second Temple period. We have to look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, to see the messianic hope that existed among Jews before the coming of Jesus. We recognize, of course, things like 4Q 521. Now that's K4 of Qumran, manuscript 521, in which it says that when the Messiah comes, he will heal the blind, he will heal the lame, and he will raise the dead. We see the same claim given by Jesus himself in Luke chapter 7, when John the Baptist sends his disciples to ask Jesus, "Are you it, the real thing, or do we wait for somebody else?" Jesus says, "Tell John what you've seen. The blind are healed, the lame walk, and the dead are raised." This is a pre-Christian Jewish messianic expectation that finds its fulfillment in Jesus.
I think a good example of where the Jesus Seminar is inconsistent in their own criteria is the whole question of Jesus' messianic self-understanding. They assume that this is the early church reading back into the Gospels. Here's the problem with this. You have multiple attestation. Everywhere in the tradition, Jesus is regarded as Messiah. In all four Gospels, in the epistles, everything in the New Testament. And how in the world that could emerge in the aftermath of Easter if Jesus had never claimed to be Messiah, had never allowed his following to think of that?
So the historical evidence that we have examined indicates Jesus forgave sins, taught that he was the unique Son of God, claimed to be the Messiah, and performed the very miracles the Jewish people thought the Messiah would do. But after preaching in the villages of the Galilee, Jesus went to Jerusalem, the very center of Jewish life. And a week later, he was dead. Why? We'll turn to that next.
Next, we'll journey to Jerusalem, where Jesus spent the last week of his life. Did Jesus understand the dangers of traveling to Jerusalem?
I don't think it would have taken a clairvoyant person to know that in a politically volatile environment, if you go around doing the kind of things Jesus did and saying the kind of things Jesus did about the coming of the kingdom of God, that you could anticipate a violent end to your life. There's no doubt about that.
More to come when Jesus, The Search Continues, returns.